You've talked at the beginning about the importance of community activation. You've talked about your content team, how important they are and how cool they are. And they create content that really engages and activates. Forrester said, and kind of put a line in the sand, and it said in ABM, content is the foundation. And it's not just upfront. It's content through the entire journey. The stat that always kills me, as I founded two different companies, is that I think it's something between 60 and 80% of content that marketing creates, sales never even uses. In fact, they say it's worthless, right? And I'm not saying that's happening at Bug Crowd at all. That's an industry-wide stat. It's a problem for all of us to solve as a community. In the tracking and the revenue ops lens that you look through things at, how important is your content and your content team to not only the activation side, but the handoffs and facilitating what the SDRs need to do and facilitating what the sales team needs to do to get to the closed win ratio?
Yeah, so I think the biggest gap when you hear those things is it's actually the language. It's what we mean when we say it. I've been an SDR and I remember saying, "You're doing all this content. I'm not even using it. I don't see any value from it." Because what I meant was when I send that as an attachment in my outreach, no one responds to me and books an email. What I'm not thinking about and where there is a ton of value is that content is reaching my audience in the background while I'm prospecting. And it's creating a sense of awareness that is creating a drumbeat and making them think about us so that they're more likely to respond to my email that didn't have that content attached. So there's a role that it's playing that is driving a ton of value that sometimes the sales team just isn't thinking of because it's not what they're doing in practice. It plays a role, like we said. It may not be sourcing a meeting, but it could be influencing the meeting based off of what people's exposure is to that asset. That's often the biggest gap. When you say that, what do you mean? Because it can be really easy to hear the content's crap and it doesn't drive any value and to go, well, shoot, then I guess let's stop doing that and do something else. When what they really are saying is if I send this out, it doesn't immediately source a meeting. That's what I mean when I say those conversations between teams are so crucial and understanding each other and what you mean by things is so important because it can accidentally drive incorrect assumptions in decision making that breaks down value as opposed to driving it. But I'll also say from an ABM perspective, setting the foundation of really good content, regardless of whether or not people are in sales are using it one-to-one to actually drive new meetings, it's still very important because it becomes the messaging the team understands when they're doing prospecting. It becomes what people in the market are seeing when they look you up after they got an email from a AE or SDR. Our team has done a pretty impressive job before we even fully launched ABM go to market in really mapping content by persona, by ICP, by intent stage. We have content for a CISO in banking financial services that is in awareness. They haven't heard of us before. And that content differs from what they wanna see when they're in the consideration stage, and that content differs from what they get when they're an open opportunity with us or they're an existing customer. We've got about 4 or 5 different stages, and we've done a lot of research. Frankly, the team's done a great job in understanding what type of content, what format, what watering holes do they like to receive it in, how do they like to receive their content, and really curating not just the content itself, but the experience through which people consume it from stage to stage with the specific purpose of pushing them to engage into the next level of intent with us. Having that groundwork out to market, it really helps engage before people even get to us. They have an understanding and they're getting things in the right way, but it also sets the groundwork for how our internal teams then communicate and engage. And it becomes the muscle memory that people have, becomes the framework for how we interact with our audiences.